And welcome everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar on Silvon's product direction. I'm Mike Hennel, Silvon's president, and Frank, thank you for volunteering to do a demo today on some of the new features that we're going to be rolling out here shortly. So to start off with, I thought that I would review the market dynamics that are really shaping our product direction. And the first one that I wanted to talk about, which is cloud-based computing. This isn't a new movement. In fact, we started hosting customers back in 2017. But I think it's important to note that last year, all of our new customers that we licensed selected the option to have Silvon host Stratum for them. And this is more than just a technology platform shift. It's a shift in how Silvon works with a customer. The whole onboarding process has changed. Part of those changes were accelerated last year due to the pandemic, but it's also changed because Silvon has taken on many tasks that were previously performed by a customer. So one example, hosted customers provide Silvon access to their on-premise transactional systems, and Silvon's responsible for the extraction, transformation, and loading of all the data. If a customer requires changes to that data that's loaded, their administrator contacts Silvon, who makes those changes for them. The second market dynamic that we follow closely is Microsoft. And we do that for a couple of reasons. First, they're a market leader in BI infrastructure. And as many of you know, our applications take advantage of a Microsoft stack. There are four main Microsoft products that we are continuing to look at further integration with. The first is Azure, that will help facilitate and extend our cloud-based infrastructure. The second is Office, which we continue to look at ways to integrate with to deliver more data to users. Third is Microsoft's Power Platform, which includes Power Apps, Power BI, and Power Automate, tools that Microsoft has released to allow analysts to build low-code applications. And lastly, Microsoft Teams. Many of you have probably used Teams for video conferencing and calls, but we're interested in integrating in with Teams collaboration features to help facilitate communication within our customers' organization. And then the last market driver that we're tracking is a category of products called augmented analytics. Products in this category use enabling technologies such as machine learning and AI to augment how people explore and analyze data. Microsoft's Power BI actually fits into this category, and there's many new entrants and more new products that are hitting this specific category, which we feel will deliver value to some of our customers. So let's talk about the product areas that we're focused on. The first one is just getting data into Stratum, and there's really a couple of key drivers. First, more of our customers are adopting cloud-based applications. Probably the most common applications that we see in the cloud are for payroll and CRM. And cloud-based vendors don't allow you to connect to the data directly. Most use an API layer that you need to use to request data. The second area that we're focused in on and making it easy to get data into Stratum is for analysts who want to be able to publish their data into Stratum. And there's really two common use cases. It's frequent that we see budgets and forecasts in Excel, and that's important data to have in Stratum for comparative reporting. And second, we normally now see additional master file data that analysts create that'd be valuable to get into Stratum for reporting and analysis. Some examples might be a product roll-up of a new marketing class. And you might also have additional customer classifications that you'd like to be able to do reporting on. And these classifications typically are defined somewhere in an Excel file, but they're not in your ERP system to make it easy to go grab and bring that into Stratum. The second area we're focused in on is just making it easy to get data out of Stratum. and there's two drivers in this area. First, we want to expand the number of products that we can seamlessly get data to. And second, whenever possible, we want to be able to use an approach where a user can connect to Stratum data directly from the tool rather than having to export data from Stratum first and then go into the tool to use it. And then the third area is just our continued focus on ease of use and modernization. We have continued emphasis on refreshing the UI and continuing to enhance the mobile experience. And you'll see some of those differences show up in Frank's demo today. And then the last area is just customer migration. We believe that we'll be living in a hybrid world for a long time, both on-premise and cloud. And we want to make sure that we not only continue to support and enhance what we do for on-premise customers, but we also want to make it seamless for them if they do decide to move to the cloud. So I thought it'd be worthwhile to kind of take you through in a little bit more detail on how these product areas that we just talked about have impacted Stratum's main components. And I thought it'd be a lot easier to kind of take you through the Stratum Data Hub architecture slide that we use. So if you're to look at the upper right-hand corner, or upper left-hand corner, you see Stratum Link. And Stratum Link we launched about a year ago, which is a new way to be able to get data into Stratum very easily. If you're a hosted customer, you probably don't even know about Stratum Link since Silvon is responsible for getting data into Stratum for you. But there's a couple of key benefits with Stratum Link, and it's the reason why we rolled it out. First, it's a no-code or low-code approach for being able to extract and transform data and get it into Stratum. And then second, Stratum Link has a set of connectors to be able to easily get data out of cloud-based systems like Salesforce or Google Analytics. And if a pre-built connector is not available, you can write a script to get access to the data that you need. The other way you can get data into Stratum, and you can see it at the lower left-hand corner, is the Stratum Analyst Hub. And you might remember for a number of years, we've had a planning module, which allows you to enter data into Stratum. But over the last couple of releases, we've added functions such as being able to copy data, which you could use as an example to see a forecast by copying over last year's sales to the forecast. We've also added additional functions like a spreadsheet import, so it'd be easy for you to be able to import a budget into Stratum. And we've also added a function for being able to augment master file data. So I should mention that if you have a license to the planning module, you have access now to all of this functionality that's been added into the Stratum Data Hub. And if you're to look at the upper right-hand corner, you see the functionality that we have in Viewer. And we've continued to focus on ease of use and modernization. And I just wanted to point out that all of the enhancements that we've done over the last 2 to 3 releases, all of that's driven by your functionality or your requests that we've gotten from you. And we've also recently added in some dashboarding functionality also within Stratum. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, you see the Stratum Access Hub. And that's focused on making it easy to get data out of Stratum. Shortly, you'll be able to go to the Microsoft App Store, which is called AppSource, and you'll be able to download a Stratum Excel add-in. This add-in will allow you to populate an Excel table with data from a Stratum view that you've selected within Excel. Right now, you can actually go to the Microsoft's App Store and also download a Power BI connector from Silvon. The connector will allow you to select a Stratum view as a data source when you're in a Power BI dashboard, and it'll populate that data automatically for you in a Power BI. Both the Excel add-in and the Power BI dashboard use Stratum's REST API, which also will give customers the ability to provide custom connectors if required. The Stratum Access Hub replaces the broadcast server. So again, if you have a license already to the broadcast server, you now have a license to all of the functionality in the Access Hub. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of the areas that not only we're working on, but what's kind of driving the development priorities. And if there's areas that you're more interested in, whether it's looking at how to better integrate with Microsoft Teams or Power BI or Excel, we're very interested in working closely with our customers to look at how we can deliver functionality that fits the business needs very well. So with that, Frank, I'll just turn it over to you to actually go through a demo on some of the functionality.
Great, thanks for that, Mike. Let me just pop up what I want to show today, and we'll get started. A couple of things that I think I'll start with, just so you guys are aware. I'm going to start with Power BI and the Power BI connector that Mike talked about. And this is available today. As I go through these features, I'll try and let you know what's available today or is upcoming in our soon to be released. We have a release coming out later this summer as well. So we'll try and get to that. But I'm going to start with the Power BI connector and just kind of show you some things there. So what you're looking at right now is the Power BI connector, or I'm sorry, Power BI dashboard or report for those of you that are familiar with Power BI that I've put together. And what you can see is this data, all of the data here, and I'll show this in a minute when I go to how the report was built, what came from Stratum. So all of this is, user doesn't really know that when they're looking at the data, but the good news is your data hub's used to drive all this stuff. From that, say a user was here, Mike mentioned being able to link back to Stratum. If a user was, say, in this dashboard and they want to go see the detail for Eleanor or for Nicole, they can click on what they want there. They can just click the Stratum icon here, which is the visualization Mike mentioned is up in the app source. And this will take me right back to Stratum. So I was looking at a heat map there, kind of one level of detail, but now I can get into Stratum and I can get into all the nitty gritty detail that I have behind what was there in that particular dashboard. So that's kind of the end user view of the Power BI stuff. But let's look at the Power BI from the person building the actual report. And I'm in the report builder now. I flipped over. I'm looking at that same report. You can see down the side here, I've got, for example, if I go, these are all, as some of you might recognize, actual sales amount, et cetera. This is all information that came from Stratum. So each of these are ways I can get data from Stratum. And if you want to add, say I want to add, I don't know, some sales and inventory to this, I can say, go ahead, get the data, go here. And what this is going to do is actually let me open up and search for the connector that's for Silvon specifically. And up here, I'm just in the Power BI piece here. I'll search for Silvon, found our connector up there. I can highlight it. And from there, I can just select that connector and go ahead and get information directly from Stratum. And what that'll do is that'll pop up. It's connecting to Stratum right now. It went out. I got a list of all the different views I have in Stratum. I've got a view, I think, called inventory availability, something like that. Yep, there we go. I can just select that view. I select it. Actually brings in a sample of the data, and then I can just say, go ahead and load that data. And now I'll have that data available in Power BI. It's that simple. You just go pick the view you want and bring it in. Now that data, I can begin to build new reports, et cetera, off of that data or intertwining that data with other data that I have up there. So that's kind of the quick view of Power BI, but with that, very easy to use, very quick to use, and allows me to integrate multiple kinds of data up into Stratum are up into Power BI coming out of Stratum, and I can do that in both directions. The connector lets me get data in, the visualizations let me get data out, and then the link, the Power BI link to go to Stratum visualization allows me to actually get back to Stratum and see the detail behind everything. Let's talk a little bit about another thing Mike mentioned was data augmentation. And let's just say that you want to add to your products, you want to add a new group code, a marketing code to a group of products. And it's not in your ERP. You don't have a place for this in your product master maintenance. And this could be customers, products, whatever. But you can go ahead and create a spreadsheet, something like this. Amazingly enough, I've got products down here and I've added the marketing group code right here. And I've just gone in and created some group codes so that I want to regroup my products by those group codes. From there, I can use the new feature which is currently available in Stratum to actually go out and bring in those group codes. And I can do that. And now you can see I'm in a Stratum data mapping component. It allows me to bring those in. It recognized the product as a dimension. There was an attribute. I've only got one attribute here, I think, that I've made what we call user controllable. So your core data, you can still control who has access to that core data and who can update that core data. But in this case, I've now opened up this particular product marketing group code to a user, and I allow them to go ahead and import that data. So I've imported the data, I can process that. And then as a user, what would that look like? So now I'm in a view in Stratum. I could come up and I could say, hey, I've got that new marketing group code I want to look at. I just go ahead and I'll just add that to my view real quick. It'll just look just like another dimension here. There's that product, there it is, product group code. I go ahead and say, okay. Gets added into my into the navigation pane there. I'll go ahead and drill down. I'll see that. Maybe I want to swap these around so you can see these a little differently. And so there we go. I've got my product group codes and the customers I'm selling to now sorted by that new piece of augmented product information that I was able to add to Stratum. So those two things that I just talked about, the Power BI connector and the master data import, are both available in Stratum today. Let me jump over to something that is in the latest version of Stratum, or the I'm sorry, I misspoke, in the upcoming version of Stratum. So this is the new Excel connector, which will be released later this summer. And if I had, I wanted to, instead of go into Stratum and run my views, this is actually, Mike talked about some UI changes as well. This is the new UI in Stratum. But let's say that I had a Excel spreadsheet that represented some dashboards I have. In this case, I've got some sales, both at by sold to, and then also maybe by product category. So I've got a couple dashboards here. That is driven by some data that I import from Stratum. So this particular table of data was automatically collected from Stratum using the Stratum Excel connector. And I can go up top. By the way, I'm actually doing this in Excel 365. You can do this in a local version of Excel as well. But I've got now some Stratum components up at the top, a Stratum add-in that will ultimately be available in the app source. If I wanted to refresh my data, I could just click the refresh button, and that would bring in all new data. Also, when I open the sheet, all the different data sources are refreshed as well. The other thing I could do when I'm in Excel is I could add more data to this sheet. So I could say, hey, let's get some additional Stratum data. So I click the Stratum data button. This is actually linking to Stratum. It went out and found some stuff. I've got a view that actually has both some sales and inventory data in it that I want to use. So let's say I wanted to add that as another table inside of my Excel sheet. I just find my view, and I'm going to actually do this at the product category level, because at this level in this particular view, I happen to have not only sales data, but some inventory data. So I can just click the insert button. This is now going out to Stratum, getting the current set of data for that, and brings that in. And now you can see I actually have data from the view available in Excel to be used as maybe part of my dashboards to enhance the dashboards that I have. So that's the Excel connector at one level, which allows me to be in Excel, go and get data directly from Stratum and bring it in and use views as the mechanism for a user to be able to easily define the data they want to transfer back and forth. And then this is a new, this could be a new data sheet. I could add some additional stuff just using traditional Excel kind of features to reference the Stratum data. As I mentioned, in the Stratum and the Excel stuff can be when you open the spreadsheet, data is updated, we go and get the data. I forgot to mention back when we were talking in the Power BI connector that you can also integrate the Stratum Power BI connector with the Power BI gateway. For those of you that are familiar with it, that allows you to actually have that gateway and the data behind your data sets in Power BI updated automatically, say subsequent to your Stratum updates at night. So any data set that you created coming out of Stratum would be updated. So let's look at another feature of the new upcoming connector for Excel out of Stratum. And here's a different spreadsheet that allows me to maintain my budget. So here I've got a budget going out to the right here. I maintain that budget by rep, sold to, category, products. I've got some filtering up the top. So as I'm working through here, I can pick and choose the things I want to update. But this is just a standard spreadsheet, nothing special from an Excel standpoint. I do have some hidden columns out on the right that actually have the product numbers and the rep brokers in them, rep broker numbers, things like that. So I can ultimately link the data back to Stratum. But what I can do is I maintain this budget. I can then put this data up into Stratum. And as Mike mentioned, this will then allow me to do comparative analysis between my sales and my budget or whatever it may be. And I just, again, using the Stratum add-in, I'm clicking the upload button. This actually takes me to a feature that's currently available in Stratum. So this new, the ability to import data from an Excel sheet is something that exists in Stratum today. And we just built on top of that functionality that we released to go ahead and add a link from Excel into that. And as you import your spreadsheet, you tell Stratum a little bit about it. And once you do that, you can go ahead, and now we're in Stratum. It's actually uploading the data into a work area. Had there been any validation issues, it would have let me know. And then you can see it's actually gone through and mapped the data here. If I go out on the right, you'll see it actually, because I've done this before, it actually knew the dimension rep broker. It knew how to map all these things because of the way they're named. We remember how you map things. So suffice to say, now I can get data from Excel, either from a standard Excel sheet. I can do it from the Stratum side and go reference the sheet and pull it in, or I can be on the Excel side and use the upcoming Excel connector to push data back up into Stratum. So I have an opportunity to do both of those things when you go ahead and look at the Excel connector. So those are a few things that are out there that I wanted to mention and talk about. Let's see, we've got a couple minutes left, so I think I will show one last thing here, and that Mike mentioned Stratum Link, and I wanted to kind of just show some of the options in Stratum Link. This is a little more technical, but as Mike mentioned, this is a low code, no code environment that allows us to link up and get things. I think the really cool thing you can do here is you can link into other cloud-based sources. So I'm showing Salesforce here. You that are familiar with Salesforce, this is how their REST API works. This is the authentication you need. And you can use those sources in Stratum Link to then create what we call scenarios that'll go get information. If I go down here, I've got a Salesforce. I'll just real quick so you can see the results here. So this is data we've pulled directly from the Salesforce cloud iteration. So if you have other things up in the cloud, this is account level information. And I can this is the results of what I got back. I can also here, I can actually profile the data as well. So it allows me to pull that data in. It'll profile here. It's actually profiling each of the columns. So this is all the columns letting me know how many are unique, how many unique entries we have, how many are null, things of that nature that just give me a general overview. And then I could go another level into this if I wanted, I can actually profile the data in a particular column. So something that might be like a phone number or something like that, I can profile what's the mask, so do they all look, common, things of that nature. So Stratum Link is a way that we can reach out and grab data through a REST API or other connections. We can also use straight up SQL and kind of ODBC connections, OLEDB, stuff like that. So you have different connections you can define there. So I think that is a quick overview of what we wanted to show today. Hopefully that's gives you guys an idea not only of what's available today, but also where we're headed and some of the things that we're working on in the immediate future. And we'll continue to enhance this and grow what we're doing here. Mike mentioned these connectors we were showing. He mentioned Microsoft Teams. That's an area where we'll be heading into, thinking about how we can collaborate with Stratum through some sort of connector with Teams. We'll probably look into Power Automate as well. So those are some areas we looked at. And then for those interested more in some of the back end stuff, there is one of the Excel import, for example, added new structures to the back end and how we house and collect data in the actual relational store for Stratum. So back in that piece, we've added some new structures there as well to help with not only the ability to get data in, but also just the overall load performance there. So different things we're doing to continue to enhance our architecture, make it better for that cloud environment that Mike talked about, where we're hosting the majority of our customers now. And then the idea that people want to use the Stratum Data Hub to get information into other applications, maybe as I'm showing here, Power BI or Excel, things of that nature.